Alright, so we are refining this template. I was actually out in LA this weekend and I got a chance to sit in and get kind of a little mix lesson tutorial coaching from two amazing mixers, Michael James, look him up, and Ryan Williams, look him up. Both old friends of mine. Ryan, I've sat in a lot of his mixing and learned a lot from him, and Michael too. But this time I got to sit in for like 3 hours, and Michael kind of went over things, a lot of stuff, and it was really, man, it was really enlightening. Really super enlightening. I'm like so on fire for this thing. So a couple things, and then also like having put the rig together, and then like literally like we finished, and the next morning I left for LA, so like we weren't quite done, and I had all this stuff on my mind, so I was laying, you know, like in bed in the hotel room thinking about, you know, oh wait, I should route this, and I need to high pass that, and I usually do, you know, whatever, man, you know, the stuff we think about. But anyway, so there was a number of things on my list of things that I wanted to do. One was I wanted to clear off some space. You know, I have 12 DSP chips. I have a Gocto card and a quad card. And what's weird is that, you know, I'm new to this UAD thing. A couple of times it seemed like I was running out of DSP, but then I looked at my thing here and I had plenty of DSP. So I don't know what that was about, but I've kind of since figured it out. And what I did was I took off a couple of things that I felt I could do with, you know, with waves or Fab Filter, and it was fine. And, you know, it's just as good. So kind of free up, because two things that I couldn't get on my template was the Ocean Way Studios for a Room, and I couldn't get on the SVT. That was not happening. It was just a couple times it just acted like it didn't want to jive in there. So, but now we're fine. I took off some channels. You know, I put these API Vision channels are phenomenal. Wow, do they sound so good. I mean, so great. But I replaced a few of them with SSL channels, and yeah, and I put like I love these Trident EQs on guitars, and I think Ryan was using them, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, those are awesome. So I put those on with you know, little CLA LA3As, which are really nice. So that was one thing I did. The other thing, yeah, so I made room for that. The other thing too is I've got my Harmonic Generators. I guess this is the return, or they're outputting through here or something. I can't, not 100% sure how this is even routed. We did it all, but it's like it doesn't until I sit down and futz with it. Anyway, and here's a question, if anybody knows. Does anybody high pass? This is my new thing. I'm saying high pass because I always said low cut, but low cut feels kind of caveman-esque. But it was how I always viewed it. And people would say high pass, and I'd be like, high pass? Oh, is that low cut? You know, like, I don't know. You know, this is you know, kind of the reality of like never having gone to technically like audio school. I've just kind of learned on my own, and I'm a bit of a thug as it is. Anyway, so I thought about like maybe on these subharmonic generators, high passing a little bit down at the way bottom. So I put these on. I don't know yet. I don't know how this is at 34. I don't really know if this is. Does anybody know anything about these? Should you high pass these, or just let them go all the way down to oblivion, or does that kind of mess up your mixing? I don't know. But the Punch 10, and I ran signal through it. I ran a signal generator all the way down, and these work. So however this is working, I can insert these here and they work. So I don't really. These are inserted. It's probably this is probably the send, because these are between the Apogee converters and the Burl B32. These are not Pro Tools. These units are not Pro Tools inserted. Though I do have room to Pro Tools insert them, but they aren't as of now. They're just straight out on their own channels on the Burl B32. So yeah, so those are some of the things, some of the changes I made. The other thing I did was, I've had this kind of concept of like, I want to be able to park my Avid artist mix here, so that if I click on highlight a track over here, it doesn't like scroll into view. Like I want to keep my Avid artist mix on my 8 VCA center section faders that really kind of are the master controls, volume, mute, and solo of the whole mix. I want to keep this. I want to keep the artist mix on these, probably for the first, I don't even know, probably over 3/4 of mixing a song, because I don't really want to change them. And I'm doing all of my kind of pre-mix, or my fader moves in Pro Tools. I'm just doing it with the trackball as I mix, and then at the end when I do the automation, I'll use the artist mix. And but the thing is like, if I'm working, let's say I'm highlighted on the drums here, then these eight yellow VCA faders will be the 8 banks on my artist mix. But then if I click over here to this, and it'll scroll in a view for those 8. And the reason I have to do this is because as I'm working, like if I'm on this window and I'm working on Drum Crush, let's say, and I'm like, okay, I got the drum, oh, I want to do this. When I always want to highlight it, so when I flip to the other window, I can easily see it right there. I can see the track. I don't like to flick around without the track highlighted, because, as some of you know, I am freaking blind. So that's that. So now Bill Kamek has a video on how to do it, and it was really easy. Thank you, Bill Kamek. Just click on the Yukon settings and go to assignments, and you just assign it. So then I guess if I want to do automation, I would just go back to whatever it is, this auto assign. Yeah, I guess it's auto assign. So, but for the template, I want to keep this up, because I like this. I like the drums and the bass being right here, so that I can just mute and solo and turn things up globally. I've been watching this Andrew Shep's video too, and it's really kind of got me going, got me excited about some of this stuff. The other thing too that I got to tell you, man, sometimes I'm slow, man. I think what it is, I want to think that I just got a lot on my mind, but I fired up this ATR UAD plugin prior to this being open, and I was like, wow, this really sounds great. But then all of a sudden we're like hearing this hissing, and I'm like, what is that hissing? And then I bypassed. I'm like, oh, it's gone. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, how the hell do you turn off the freaking hiss? And I'm looking, and I'm hitting everything, and I'm going from this to this. I can't figure it out. So, oh man, you guys, I'm telling you, just remember, I'm a guitar player. I grew up like with a Les Paul and a JCM 800. So all of this stuff is a stretch sometimes for me, mentally. No, I'm just kidding. I'm smart. Trust me, I'm smart, man. I know what I'm doing. I'm still in the music business. You got to be smart, right? But so I'm over at Michael J's the other day, and I'm like, hey man, how do you get rid of this damn hiss? And he's like, oh, well, you just hit the open window and shut off the noise. Oh, really interesting. Funny that I never saw that. Anyway, he went through this whole plugin with me and actually sent me some of his fantastic things that he does with it, and I'm really excited. I really love this thing. So that's one of the other things that I changed. Oh man, it's crazy. What else? I had a whole list, and I just started plowing through it. Mainly it was get off some of the excess UAD plugins so that I had room for some of the SVT. If you guys have not ever heard that SVT, the UAD SVT, that is probably one of the most badass plugins I've ever heard in my life, for just purely like, wow, this is killer. And and the other thing is, last night I'm driving around with one of my students out in LA. He lives in Norway, and he was in LA for NAMM, so we kicked around with his girlfriend and went to the Rainbow and went, you know, shopping in Melrose and had food and everything. And we were driving, and he starts playing his record, his new little record that he did, and it sounded great, and then the guitars sounded great, and they were Kemper, and I was like, oh my god. I'm like mixing with more plugins, and now I'm like digging this Kemper. I'm like, oh my lord, what's happening to me? I'm losing it. Just kidding. But yeah, you guys got to check him out. Kieran Serrano, or Kieran Serran, or something like that. Some weird name. Kieran. You can chime in, Kieran, and say, hey, it's me. But he's a kind of an 80s, like, he's into the hair metal, kind of hard rock stuff. And he's a great singer. And man, what a great guitar player, too. I was shocked. Like shredding like George Lynch. Anyway, getting back to all this. So those are some of the things that I've done this morning that were on my list. And yeah, this UAD thing, I don't think that this is really an issue, which is weird because I'm sitting between this like 51 and 63%, and everything seems to be running fine. But one time that I did just open up this Ocean Way, it gave me that little box that said something that sounded like, I didn't read it, unfortunately. I should have read it. I just looked at it. It was one of those things like, you know, it looked like you're running out of DSP little things, and I closed it. And I was like, oh, wait a second, maybe I should have read that. So then I blew out the plug-in, put it back on, and it was fine. And it doesn't appear that any of the, it doesn't appear, you know, because you'll get that little sign down here that tells you that it's been deactivated if you're out of DSP, and it doesn't seem like everything seems fine. So anyway, basically, yeah, I've been, so kind of a rundown of what I'm using are these auto aligns are fantastic. But now Michael was showing me the UAD Little Labs IPC, or it seems like it's similar to auto align. It looked really easy too, and it sounded great, and he really was loving that. You know, that little. So this would be a low pass. See, look, I'm getting better. That's kick out, auto align, and some trigger, and then I've got my kick here, which has been the SSL Waves SSL, and which sounds great. And you know, we popped up the API, and me and Johnny Wooten were kind of instantly a little, I don't know, I wouldn't say turned off, but we're like, you know, it's like we can't really dial in like the exact frequencies or whatever because it's all stepped. But we're listening to it, and then I said, all right, well, forget it. And then I took the plug-in off, went back to the SSL. This was we were mixing this song, and it kept bugging me. I kept thinking about like just that little 5 seconds of listening to the kick through the API. I just thought, did that really sound good, or was it was I crazy? So we returned back to it, and they started to play it, and I was just like, you know, let's just block out, let's just like deal with it for what it is. And when we went side by side, this thing sounded, in my opinion, better. It was more, it had more authority. It was, the top end was a little creamier. It had more, it just sounded meaner. It had more punch. It had more, just more conviction, or, and I don't know what the word is. It just sounded with more authority. And the SSL sounded cool. The SSL gave it a little bit more of that slicker, boingy thing, almost more like maybe, I don't know, more of a pop thing, and this felt more like a rock thing. The API felt more rockin', kind of. I don't know. Anyway, going down the line, snares, auto lines. This is just the template. And then here's our snare sub, which we have Studio 800. And again, this stuff was all just, and again with the API, and it sounded great, and a little trans wide. And again, this was all, you know, us running through everything, kind of just picking what we liked right out of the gate and throwing it up there. And this could change as time progresses. Auto align on snare trigger, again with the API, kind of trying to get the API like as our console sound, I guess you'd say. A little fatso on trigger and trans wide. You know, something that Chris said at Mixed and Masters was he was kind of like, he seemed like he thought that it was better to use less brands of plugins or less variety of plugins. And it, you know, it's something that I never really knew if it was right or wrong, you know, scientifically or however anybody else thought about it, but I always kind of felt the same way. I always felt like it was kind of better to like try to use like a lot of the same stuff to give the record a little more of a cohesive thing. And when he said that, I thought, all right, well, if he feels the same way, then he's definitely cooler than me anyway. So so that's the concept being, is that, you know, we're going to kind of stay with these APIs as much as possible. Kick and snare crush, all buttons in, UAD, Rev-E, blackface, really nice. This is a little bit of this stuff we learned from the Andrew Sheps thing. Then the other thing I did was I put, and these are just little cues, they don't even, I don't know, get rid of these. Yeah, actually, let me get rid of these. But another thing that some of these came in and we were messing with it, so they have. That's the other thing too, is I'm going to have less stuff set, so when I sit down, I think the tracks are a little bit less processed, way less processed, and just kind of go from scratch. But the thing I'm going to do here too is that these are like Tom 1, Tom 2, and Tom 3. I'm gonna put like EQs on all of them. I don't know if I'll use the Pro Q. I mean, I could use probably EQ3 on this, but like knock out any kind of wompiness or any mid build-up or whatever that we don't like, as opposed to the way I was mixing, which was I just had basically one EQ on the tom sub, and I was doing kind of a generalized thing, but there's sometimes it'd be like one little you know, little frequency in one tom that kind of bugged me, and a lot of times it seemed like I was kind of letting it slide, and that's one thing that I've been learning from this. I keep going back to this promix.net, but I love this website. It's got all these tutorials, and that's one thing that I'm learning from watching Fab DuPont mix, is like, the dude is meticulous, man. He is meticulous, and you know, he picks his battles, but he's a meticulous guy, and I think that's a lesson that is good for me to learn, because I think sometimes I've been, you know, a little bit too chill on things, and it's time to stop being that way and be a little more meticulous. Tom sub has the API again, and this is inserted into the Aphex big bottom. This is the which is, I think, the same thing, kind of like Sheps uses the Aphex thing in his hardware version of the mixing video. He's using the actual hardware too. The Aphex is inserted on toms, and we've got overs, which again is auto aligned. Ride is auto aligned, which I don't know how much this plays into auto alignment or how good this is, but and then just a little Pro L. Let me put this on my other to-do list. What was that I just was going to do? Oh, auto align, instruct video, studio A. Johnny shot, or I shot a video of Johnny teaching us how to do auto align, and I filmed it. It's about 10 minutes long, I may put it up on YouTube just as like a little tutorial, because he's really good at it. And I think we kind of learned from Armando. And I knew how to do it, but again, you know, when you have assistants for so long, it's like you teach them stuff and then you can't remember how to do it because you haven't done it in so long. Overheads. This was on here because left and right was weird on a track, so I'm going to actually take that trim off. I don't need that on my template. That was left and right were odd. That was how I kind of... and then rooms, which has auto align, which I don't think we were using. I think we didn't use the rooms. I think the rooms just stayed the same. I don't think that that's even working. I'll have to look at it. I think this is dead though. So what was this? This is O2. Yeah, O2. I don't think there's any auto align on the rooms. I don't know, maybe there was. Definitely not the staircase distant room. And then here's room sub, which has the API again. So the the whole drums are kind of similar. Drum verb, little plate here. This thing is badass. Wow. And then tom verb. We're kind of doing a different tom verb. Yeah, this ensemble thing. I don't know. This was the Sheps though. The Sheps thing. What is this? Yeah, I think it's just this. Oh no, the ensemble was like Widener. Yeah, this was kind of Sheps' thing. So we put it in there. It kind of sounded nice. Giving the toms a different, treating them differently than the kit, or than the drum verb is like pretty much the verb that's on snare trigger to give kind of the size of the room. Anyway, there you go. Percussion. So percussion is like, or I put the SSL on. Like I had the API on this, and it seemed like maybe I was running low on DSP. Though they seem to be fine now. I don't really, I'm not really sure about this UAD thing. I gotta give them a call. Bass, slate, tape, and again, and back to the API on bass, which was really nice. And it's just a little light compression. I don't know why that's there. And then bass crush, little low cut, little trans wide, and then smack. Smack is really great. And now I have DSP to put this plug in on the DI track if I want. Oh, this is the other thing that Michael taught me, is how to set it up for categories too, which was cool. And then also have my two favorites. You can do an EQ and a dynamics, or so I did my Fab Filter Q and just a UAD 1176 Rev A native. Just throw them up there for now, but he showed me how to do that, which I think is cool. So, but this is the dude. Check it out. This is so badass, guys. Ampeg Svt. This dude. This thing sounds killer, man. Just this is what an emulation of an amp. I mean, fantastic. Just so exciting sounding, man. Just so real. I mean, I have a bunch of different SVT plugin, simulating plugins that will remain nameless. And when we A-B'd them, man, it was like not even close. The UAD one is like in a completely different, like it sounds exactly like an SVT to me. And I've been an SVT guy for 30, 40 years. I don't know, forever, since the 70s. I've owned a number of them. I used to be a bass player. I played a bass actually kind of before I played guitar in bands. So I'm all over that. This is the master bus return. This is the mix return coming. So this comes straight off of the Burl B32, and we got to do a DSP trim, because you have to have a DSP plugin first to have it run in I mode and have the native plugins work. I don't know if you guys know that trick, but that's the old trick. and then I just threw this little the ATR up now, because I originally had it and loved it, and then I realized how noisy it was, so I took it off. So since Mr. Michael J has bestowed upon me some cool stuff, and again, it's probably stuff everybody knows. I don't know what's wrong with me, but and then this Brainworks, I just set it to a Widener. I've got to mess with this. I don't even know how this really works yet, but I do know it seems like it's cool from just the little bit I've used it, and the little presets. I thought this was going to be good. Always going for the wide, but I've learned some new tricks on getting things wider. Man, I've learned some tricks. Probably tricks everybody already knows, and I'm just figuring them out. This is for listening back, playback. If I want to listen with, this is a little weird thing I've learned too with the Pro L and the L2. But anyway, that's my little limiter. That's not printing. That's just for listening. And then the way it's set up, it doesn't. The VU or the meter doesn't show the output of this. It just shows I don't know why. It used to, and then it stopped. I don't know if some mode changed. So we ended up just shuttling it over to a master fader here, so that we can actually see the volume that we're listening to it. So when we pull in references, we can balance things. Which I wish there was a way that I could figure out how to get this. It was like we did an update. We went from like Pro Tools 10 to 11 or something, or 11 to 11 something, and then all of a sudden this wouldn't show, you know, the limited, I don't know if anybody knows how to do that or knows what I'm doing wrong, because I'd love to get rid of this master fader, because it's just more crap I don't want. Then I just blew it. What did I just do? Bass, back there. I hate when I move stuff out. Let me save this in case I blow up the world. Then I've got my 8 VCAs, which is drums, bass, music, everything, solo, vocal, background vocal, effects, and master VCA. And then you scroll down to guitars. These are all guitar subs, so that, you know, all my guitar tracks will be bused to all this stuff. I know this may not be making. I just threw some tape, and again, I don't know how this is all going to pan out. Tridents. Some little BX shred spread. This is a great program, man. Oh, sheesh, for widening. And I've got different guitar tracks: guitar 1, guitar 2, guitar 3. Like usually guitar 1 are heavies, guitar 2 is maybe secondary. And the reason I set these different is because they're going to be treated differently, not just EQ, but different effects. And I've also set up all of my effects kind of like on a console, like the same effect. Now I can mix and match, but I've got an effect template that I pull in. Let me go over there. See, well, maybe I'll wait till we get to vocals. We'll just keep going. Now we've got Music Crush, which is this dude. Again, all buttons in and not linked, so you're getting a little left and right jiggy. And not only does music go through this, it's just like a parallel, but also background vocals because they're stereo. Then we've got vocals, which is a little de-esser at the top. This Nova EQ is bad to the bone. I just put them all up there. This is like a dynamic EQ for notching out little things you don't like, and you set it up like with thresholds, like you would a compressor. It's fantastic. It was really nice, and it's free. But they have a paid version, which I'm going to get because I want to support the company. I was reading about them. And then my vocal EQ is this Massenburg, which is just the creamiest top end. This is just the greatest. I love this EQ. And then I've got vocal 1, 2, and 3. You know, verse, chorus, pre-chorus, bridge, whatever, so I can treat them differently with different reverbs. And then they all send over, which is inserted in my 1176 hardware, NCL1B. You see right there. And then I've got a Vocal Crush, which has another 1176, and this stuff may get kind of mixed and matched. And there's another parallel Shimmer, which Johnny got turned on to from the Shep's video too, which I think it was more for an oral exciter, but we set up this revival the slate. I don't know. It's kind of like a top-end shimmer. I don't know if it's like an oral exciter or what it is, but it sounds really cool and it's nice and it brings a lot of energy and excitement and kind of a little bit of thanginess to the vocals. So it's something you can, maybe bring in or out, or automate it. And then I think we did a little wide on that. And then background vocals, API again. This is the sub for background vocals, a little wider. Then we've got all of our effects here, which I went from small to large. I went room, plate, hall. So we got room, which I don't, again, this can all be taken out on the fly or changed. Plate and hall, which I don't even think that's really set for. Yeah, it's set for large hall. This is really a nice reverb. I love this lexicon. And then slap, 16th, 8th, quarter, half. My H3000 hardware doubler and my H3000 hardware split harmonizer. So slap is a little H2. And this is the other thing that I have come to a realization, that I'm going to just use stuff that I like and that makes sense to me. I'm tired of, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like there's certain things that I would be using that just didn't make sense to me, or were just weird to me, or like those lexicon plug-in delays, reverbs. I mean, they sound nice, but there's just something about them. It's just a pain in the ass to me, confusing as hell. I just love the way each delay sounds. I love the way it works. It's simple, and it just works great. And I mean, I've got Echo Boy, and I've got all this other stuff, so I can use it. But here's slap, which is, I just have it not synced. Just, I have it set at 76, and set it anywhere you want. That's just a starting point. 16th, or 8, yeah, 6th, no wait, I'm sorry, slap, 16th, right, this is 16th. Then 8th, I used, this is really great, the UAD Echoplex. Wow, man, I mean, just sounds so great. It's just fun to use too. Then you come to the quarter, and that is my PCM42 hardware. And then half is H delay, which actually, see, I really wanted to use the Echoplex in half. But I was getting this, yeah, see, now it's working. I was getting this, I was like, running out of DSP, which I didn't understand why, because when I look at the gas gauge, there was plenty of room. And I've got 12 DSP, so I should be able to run some of these dang plugins. Anyway, so now I've got half, I got my Echoplex. That's, like, this thing is just so fantastic. And then my doubler and split harmonizer are my H3000s. Then I've got just a distortion track that's just there, a decapitator I can grab for anything. Though we have found that we have to set up a separate one if we want to do vocal distortion, because the phase has to be flipped on the decapitator. I don't know, I think the decapitator's maybe flipping the phase somehow or something, I don't know. We have to do a little trim plug-in and flip the phase. For vocals, and then Punch 10 return, and Cosmo Subharmonic Generator. Cosmo I use mostly like on bass, and Punch 10 is kick and snare, man. Punch 10 is killer, man. Again, like I said in the other videos, that's an area that, man, these are so far and above any software that I've tried. They're just so monstrous sounding. And if anybody knows about high passing, if it's a good thing to high pass in some harmonic generators, or just leave them, let me know. And then, so all these tracks are set up with a set kind of effect thing. So if I go all, and you can see them, and they're all off, it's just they're all there, ready to go. A little bit of this here. Room, and it just goes right in order. So smallest room, plate, hall, kind of, smaller, medium, bigger, and then slap, 16th, 8th, quarter. This is my Music Crush parallel. So I don't have the half on there. So if I want to use, because the half's a little bit can be an oddball thing. So if I want to use it, I just would take off, let's say, the 16th and throw it on there or whatever. It doesn't make a difference. And then doubler, hardware split harmonizer. And that's it. And that is it. That is it. That is it. So, yeah, there's a crush. These are all kind of going through a little bit. But that's the game plan, man. Is yeah, the vocal doesn't have the vocal crush comes off. So the vocals, you see all of them. Right, because I'm not going to use a half on guitars. There is a half here on vocals, though. It goes straight down because the vocals parallel or bus over to the two hardware compressors, the 1176 and the CL1B, and from there I'm able to do my vocal crush, and then I also do my shimmer. So anyway, that's kind of a rundown of where I'm at with this, and boy, a lot of thoughts gone into it, and a lot of studying and a lot of researching, and watching Michael's way more hardware, and Ryan's mix is way more software based. But it was cool to see them both do their thing, and they both gave me some fantastic tips, and they're both great mixers, and it just really kind of, I don't know, it was cool, man. It was very, very cool. So that's where I'm at, and it's pretty exciting stuff going on right now, and yeah, there you have it. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Just a little bit of how it's all set up. I'll get that video up if anybody's interested in watching a tutorial on how to use auto align. It's not really that hard, but you kind of got, I think Armando Avila originally taught us how to do it, so we just do it the way he does it, or something. Or I think Johnny also watched an instructional video on their site. But anyway, there you have it. There you go.